Right. And we're on. Joey
Live.
Leveille, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Yes, you're the first guest since I officially changed the name to Path Notes. So
Cool. I'm honored, man.
kind of a milestone. So we were going to start off today with like how to get started with whether it's like the outdoor fitness or whatever. So like how do you recommend people just get going on some of the stuff that we do?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm working with personal training clients, they ask me that, how can I start to apply this stuff and start a practice outside? And usually what I say is you should go out and walk in the grass because it's a really easy starting point and you don't have any excuses not to do it because there's grass everywhere. And the reason I say to do that is because normally we're just walking on perfectly flat surfaces all the time. So if you're going to be going out in the woods and doing things like that, you want to make sure that your legs are ready for it. Walking on hills, walking on maybe sideways on a hill where your ankle has to go, laterally a little bit. So that's one like easy entry point I give if somebody hasn't done anything. Is I say just go for a walk in the grass, maybe not like a perfectly manicured grass out in a park or something like that. And just start to do that and see where it takes you. Maybe you see a log and you start balancing on the log. It's pretty safe. It's only a foot or two off the ground. And you can start to work on getting better at balance.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It was when we have this group. If you're in the Indianapolis area, you can join the Facebook group Indy Strength and Movement Community. So as a group we started, it's been a couple of years now, and there's like a little over 100 people in it. But we get people that come out with us, and everybody has their own strength. So you're doing stuff that I'm not able to do. I'm doing stuff that you're not doing.
Right.
Somebody else is doing something neither one of us can do.
Right.
There's like all these different levels. And I think some people like maybe want to join us, but they're not because they see some of our videos. We're 60 feet up in a tree. And they're like intimidated. And so like what would you say to the people that are thinking of, not just in the Indianapolis area joining us, because most people that listen to the show are nowhere close to here. Like what about, besides like the walking in the grass, like maybe getting a group of people together? Like how do you think people could start? Like if they don't want to just like go out to the woods by themselves, maybe it's not their nature. Like I had Rosana Tejo on the show, and she's from Peru, and she moved to New York City, and she like connect back with her roots and nature. And so she like started this like hiking club, and she's telling her friends about it, and like they don't even know what she means by hiking. And she's like, I think it's just like walking through the woods. But there's some like this disconnect. So if like, how would you like get over like that part? So they're going and they're walking through the grass, and they see like, what about the like maybe how to get people together? Or like,
yeah. So basically, I would suggest going the social media route, namely because it worked for me. That's how we met. I just saw one of your Instagram videos, and you're doing some bear crawls with your class, and I was like, but also some other animal type crawls that you don't see. And that made me think, hey, like this guy is on the same path as me. He's trying to like expand his movement in different directions, and he's not afraid to defy like normal fitness paradigms. So I suggest, starting a Facebook group if it doesn't already exist in your city, and include some kind of term like movements or physical culture in the name of the city. So ours is Indy Strength and Movement. And what that does is if people are looking for a more generalist perspective, like we're doing at these meetups, then they're going to be looking for those key terms like movement culture from the Ida Portal method, or physical culture is another term, or maybe evolve, move, play from Rafe Kelly's work. Include some of these buzz terms in your Facebook group. That way it comes up. And beyond that, if you know somebody who grew up out in the country or in the woods, reach out to them and say, hey, I want to learn about this. Would you mind going on a walk in the woods with me? Maybe they can point out a few different kinds of plants or trees, or just at least make you feel comfortable to go out in the woods. Like, hey, this isn't a scary place. It's a place where you can learn things and explore. So that's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, it's interesting because like both of us grew up uh, climbing in the woods, doing just like you see something you want to climb and you climb it. You see something you want to like balance on, you just do it. And it's like such a natural thing. I think once people kind of get into it, then they'll start like, oh, this is in my DNA. They start to climb a tree and like, okay, you don't have to read a manual, although there is instructions, which I think we should get into our program later on. I think it's okay to start talking about it, but there's just like there's something about climbing that tree that feels like really natural, like ancient, this primal thing. And people will, like we were talking the other day, like I'll maybe climb as high as you, but you're a better climber. You can do different transitions that I'm not doing. And so there's like this amount of like risk taking. And I guess like that's kind of, maybe that's part of the thing, like out when we're out there and sometimes there's like several of us and like, I think I'm going to do this. Like I was talking about running and doing a jump off this wall and then do a rollout. And you're like, no.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, I think I'll do this progression. You're like, okay, that's cool. That makes sense. It's like sometimes like, or you were talking about doing something and then like Eve and Ethan were telling you, no, you're not going to do that. And then I was like, what? And then they told me, I don't even remember what it was, but it was, I was like, no,
don't do that, man.
Nah. So what about like the risk taking? Because there is a risk. Like when we were at White Pine the other day, and we're over there, me, you, and Richie, and we're climbing around on the monkey bars and stuff. And this other guy comes over, and he's, I don't know, maybe 40, and he's going across the monkey bars. He ends up wiping out. His legs hit the the slack line, and he falls, and he was fine.
Sure.
A little bit later, I'm doing a lache from one bar to the next, and I missed the bar. I landed flat on my back. I didn't hit my head. I've done enough martial art following and stuff. Sure. So, I mean, it happens like it's so fast. There's no time to prepare. Your body's just going to do what you trained it to do. So I was able to fall properly. I didn't hit my head. Didn't even knock the wind out of me. But that bar is 8 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So my hands like touched it, but they didn't quite get all the way around.
Yeah.
And then I don't know exactly what it looked like, but I fell flat on my back.
Yeah.
It's like, what about like managing the risk? Because I think that's what like people are like, oh, I don't want to get hurt, or let me get in shape first. Let me lose 20 pounds and then I'll.
Right. That's just an excuse when people say stuff like that. Lose that 20 pounds out in the woods. What better place to reconnect and to put yourself on a good, healthy weight loss journey than to get out in nature, breathing the fresh air and being with friends. But, as like trainers, I'd always try and follow the Hippocratic Oath, which is do no harm, because you don't want people to hurt themselves because it's going to set you back so much. It's not good for you as a trainer. You obviously you care a lot about your client. You don't want anything to happen to them. But at the same time, like people love to do zero risk activities. They think that having no risk, like why risk it when I could do all these other things?
Get on a treadmill.
Yeah. Versus like going out on the road where, there might be a bump or a crack in the sidewalk or whatever. But the reality is we need the risks to be attentive. And if you want to get a new layer of focus in your mindset, you need to have some risk. And part of that is like just beginning to take small risks, things where if things go wrong, not only are you thinking about what can go wrong, but you also know what you're going to do and when to just not do something. Like for example, if you're used to balancing on smaller objects, like a log, maybe try like 3 feet up. So there's some risk. Yeah, if you fell from that height head first, it would suck. But like you're probably not going to completely invert in the 3 feet down
Yeah.
fall. So I'd say, progressive risks, just like anything in fitness. Like we don't put you into the splits if it's your first time stretching your legs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to put 300 pounds on the bar the first time you deadlift. It's the same with risk and mindset. Is like, first you need to understand what you can do with your body, and then you start to play with the edges of your abilities. But like, you have to know yourself, and we're obviously deep in the game. That's why we can take certain risks. But at the same time, for me to jump, from one rock to another, that's maybe 7 feet away, this is something I can do every time. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's a calculated risk that's actually very small. Whereas somebody who's not used to having their ankles loaded in uneven planes, and they're just used to flat floors, even if they can, jump pretty well, if they're landing on with two different angles, because on a rock, one ankle when you land is going to be at one angle, and the other's going to be at a different one because the rock's not uniform. They might not be used to that, and they might sprain an ankle or hurt their Achilles tendon or something. So for me, it's a tiny risk, but for somebody who's not acclimated, it's a huge risk. So you got to be smart and take your time, but there's nothing like the woods to really build resiliency in your body. Would you say that it's helped you prevent some injuries to just be out in the woods and train?
Yeah, I would imagine so. And part of it is it's not the same thing every time. So there's like some similar things or some similar patterns that you'll get while you're climbing a tree, but no two trees are the same.
Right.
So you're looking and you have to, is that branch going to hold me? It's not going to if I'm 20 inches out, right. But if I can keep my foot so it's touching the trunk,
sure, I'm
going to be fine. So how do I know? How do you know?
Yeah.
So that's a weird one too. How do you know?
Yeah.
But there's something in us that can like figure it out. I can assess, okay, it looks pretty rotten. Yeah. It's a weird thing without doing any kind of scientific test. You just look at it. This branch will hold me, and you probably err on the safe side as much as you can. And even are you talking about the managed risks and the doing stuff that you can do every time? Even professional lifters, they're not maxing out every day.
No,
it's most of the time they're in this. Maybe depend on what you're doing, 70-80%. Sometimes hitting 90%. But if you go 100% every time, that's a recipe for disaster. It's harder to progress, more likely to injure yourself. It's a lot more mental stress. Like, I've never done this before again. But if you find yourself like hitting that 70-80% mark, that mark progresses on its own. Like, okay, you can do 7 feet every time. You can jump 7 feet.
Right.
Okay, now this is 7 feet 3 inches. Okay, that's cool. I can do that too.
Sure.
And then you get that 7.3 becomes the 70% or whatever. Yeah. And then it's 7.6, and then it's 8 foot, and it's happening without you taking these like crazy risks.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Definitely just want to see people be wise about it, but also, challenge yourself and do some amount of risk. So for you, if that just means walking in the grass, then do that. Because there's certainly people who I work with who that's like a big deal, mm-hmm. If they're older or they immediately start talking about their old ankle sprains or their old knee injuries. And that's mm-hmm. another thing I know people worry about is like
arch support.
Something
like that.
Yeah, arch support. So, we haven't really had anybody come out in like arch supports and knee braces and elbow pads yet, but I don't think that stuff is necessary to be so overly cautious. And what we do, we're just, when we share it on media, it's just like the best, coolest kind of stuff. But we're also just exploring movement in general. So sometimes we'll just do, something small and goofy, like we're just looking at a weird way to do a plank, between two objects or on an object, and it's super safe. It's just a matter of like, can you or can you not? And sometimes some people will try while other people watch, and sometimes everybody jumps in and tries it, but there's never any pressure for everybody to get involved. And like, that's what makes the little tribe we have so special, is like, we're not competing against each other, but we all don't exactly have a common goal. We're just all like hanging out with each other in the woods. And what that does is it opens it up for you to do what you want to do, but also feel supported by everyone around you.
Yeah, that is what makes it fun. Like, because everybody has these different minds, these different ideas. And so I'll see you do something like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that too. Something else you do, I'm like, I'm not even going to bother with that.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do. So yesterday we went out to the woods. Like, how would you describe what we did yesterday?
Yeah. I'd say meandering with puzzles included. We just we hiked through the woods, and at first we were just kind of like, without like agreeing to do this, we were just looking for birds for a little bit. We just kind of walked through the woods. We both kind of naturally started walking a little quieter, and we were looking for woodpeckers because we saw one fly across the path.
Yeah.
And that was cool. That got me like tuned into the woods, got me out of the city mindset. And then we found some vines. So we decided to engage with the vines. So we got up there, and we both climbed on them a bit, and warmed up our bodies, and just had fun up in the vines, man. Got engaged with the environment. Like, walking on the trail is cool. Bird watching is cool, but like, we want to actually be a part of the woods. And that's what we do. That's different from like hiking, is we're going to walk off the path for a moment so that we can like have this like really palpable experience with the woods, versus like on the trail, like there's no bushes to step over. There's no sticks to really get in your way. There's no rocks to trip over. And when you're climbing up a vine, first of all, we're like, is this vine going to hold? Is that safe? And yeah, it was a really thick vine. We decided it was safe. And then we were trying to figure out how to get up there, and we saw that limb wedged in between the crevice of the tree. And just like we were talking about, like, we're guessing whether or not it can hold our weight, because it's like a dead branch wedged in a tree. So you got up there, and we're real conservative. You stayed close to the trunk, which is like you being safe, and making a calculated risk. And then you started climbing on the vine. And I got a few cool pictures of you up there, like, and you're working out essentially up on this vine that's shaking everywhere. There's no guarantee that you're not going to fall off, but you also can hang on really well. So we just like immediately found an awareness challenge, and then progressed that to a more physical strength challenge. And then when we were done with that area, it was kind of just mutually agreed. It's like, it's time to move on. Let's migrate to the next spot. And that's what a lot of our meetups are like.
Yeah. And then you start like balancing, doing one leg squats on one of the logs. And my knees weren't like feeling up to, I can do one leg squats, but sometimes my knees swell up a little bit. And it's not a good idea for me too, because it feels like it's going to bust the joint apart. But
sure.
And yeah, it's like each section is almost like its own little gym, or it's a section of a different gym. You're in this, okay, here's the vine climbing section, and then here's the rock lifting section, and here's this real steep, I don't know how tall that was, probably less, not even 20 feet thing that we climbed down. And like, is this route going to hold me? Maybe. So if it doesn't, I have this plan B if this
Yes.
thing busts. I've had that happen before where a
Yeah.
root broke and I'm pretty up high in Brown County and,
Yeah.
fall backwards down this rocky
God.
hill for a while. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's this interesting like sort of thing. Like what happens, you don't need like a book to, like instructions definitely help.
Hmm.
So I guess so speaking of like the instructions, like
Hmm.
I think it's probably cool to talk about this program that we're doing in spring. You think?
Cool.
Like,
Yeah, definitely.
so how would you describe what we're cooking for spring?
Sure. So what we're trying to do is we'll have a very concentrated sessions about every other week is what we're talking about now, where we're going to meet up for a good chunk of time, at least a couple hours, and we'll give you some principles of being involved with nature in the movement sense. So the way we're talking about this is the protector pathway. That's what Matt Shull, the owner of White Pine, is describing it as. So basically, how to be able-bodied in a natural environment, so that not just for yourself, like what we do is fun, but it's just for us. But this is more in a larger context. Like, how do you be useful as a human being in a natural setting, so that you could help others, and you're mobile. Like, it doesn't restrict you that you have to move up a hill or move over big rocks or get to another place. So that way, like, let's say something bad happened when we were out in the woods. If we needed somebody to go get help, any one of us could scramble away through the woods and get help much quicker than your average person could do. So that's the way I kind of see it. How do you look at it?
Yeah, that and so like there may be a situation where I fall from the tree, I break
Yeah.
my leg. Maybe it's better for you to leave me there and go get help, or maybe it's better for you to carry me out. So then it's like part of this testing. I got this idea from this martial arts teacher. He's more than a martial arts teacher. I can't remember his name, but it's the Cave of Adullam in Detroit. This guy's an amazing teacher, but part of these kids tests, his focus is mainly on young black boys, and uh, the part of their test, which is like an initiation into this school, there's spiritual tests, there's physical tests, and there's their martial arts techniques. And this guy's like just an amazing teacher. There's a lot of videos. Like part of the kid's test is after he's done with his spiritual test, his physical test, his martial arts test, he has to get on the back of his dad while his dad does push-ups. Sometimes dad's not there. Maybe it's stepdad, maybe it's uncle, maybe it's just his spiritual brothers at the class.
Yeah.
So how hard is it to get on somebody's back while they're doing push-ups? It's pretty easy. All you have to do is lay there.
Yeah.
But what he's trying to show is like you're not alone. You have these other men that are here for you. They will work for you. They will show up. They will do these things. It's these super powerful videos. I'm barely even scratching the surface of how powerful this guy is. But so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to take his idea of that, and then part of our tests, because Matt wants there to be like tests, and it's like a quest. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe part of my test is you have to carry me 100 yards.
Sure.
Super easy for me to just drape over your shoulders. It might be uncomfortable hitting my guts, but it's going to be a lot harder for you than me.
Yeah.
But that's still part of my test, is to know, like, so we'll see how we dial it in exactly to make it ours. So we're like, taking from this guy's idea, and how do we make it ours?
Sure.
But so there's that. Like stone lifting, so lifting, stone carrying, log lifting, log carrying, martial arts. You're doing tree climbing. There's going to be like overlap. So there's 3 main instructors. We'll see what all Matt does with it, but me, you, and Richie Todd. So Richie's main thing is going to be the martial arts. I'm going to do some of that too. My main thing is going to be the strength. Richie will do some of that too. Your main thing is the climbing, but you'll also be doing strength stuff, movement stuff.
Sure,
and it's all like this overlap where each of us might have our specialty to these overlaps.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea is to give people this, it's supposed to be a big deal. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to go to my, workout class from noon to 1 and burn some calories,
right,
or something like that. And it's supposed to be this like community thing. So maybe it's a father and son thing. Maybe mom brings her daughter, or maybe husband and wife, or whatever. Because I see like team stuff happening.
Sure,
like you're working together as a team. And so maybe so mom is usually used to taking care of daughter. Maybe daughter's 14, mom's 40 or whatever. So mom has been taking care of daughter this whole time, but there's going to be some point, more than likely, in their life where daughter is now the one in charge.
Right.
Daughter is making decisions. Daughter is the one taking care of mom. We're still working out details, and there'll probably be like some surprises of what we do.
Sure.
But it should be this just really amazing program. Have 3, plus 1. We'll see what Matt does. Matt's like thinking up. He's given us his ideal, bouncing his ideal off of us, like the southeast part of the 8 shields model, which is in the archetype of the protector, which he is like, it's his like vision, and he picked us to, so it's not just like me, or not just you, not just Richie. Either one of us can and has ran workshops where each one of us is perfectly capable by ourselves to do awesome stuff. But this combination is really cool. And so I think we're shooting for March. And like you said, probably every other Saturday, something like that, for at least a couple hours. And maybe it'll go for a few months. We're still ironing out all these details, but the idea is just like to get immersed into this thing where it's not just, oh, I'm going to like tone my biceps up a little bit, or I need to lose 5 pounds, or it's like, you probably will tone your biceps up.
Yeah.
You probably will lose the 5 pounds, or maybe you'll, but it's, it's supposed to be a real big deal. And the meetings that we've had, it seems like it's can't lose on who we have and what we're doing.
Everyone's got their head in the same place. It feels like, we all just want to make like the term that people use sometimes is embodiment. Like we're trying to get you recognizing like what are some basic functions of your body, and like and then how do we tie that into who you are as a person, and just having this this feeling of confidence in your natural environment is just so powerful. And it makes like there's nothing wrong with making your biceps a little more toned or losing 5 pounds, and both of us totally agree. But I think we also agree on what's the big picture. Where is it leading towards? What kind of person are you becoming as a result of that? And how do the losing 5 pounds and making your biceps more toned, where do those two things meet? Like, how are they related to each other? And the answer is like this, partially in this protector pathway, where it's like, you use your strength for others. And just like when you're out in the woods and you're doing something hard, or you're doing a workout and you're doing something hard, one thing that always keeps me motivated is when I'm too tired, I don't have enough energy to do more. I'm like, I'm going to do more now, not using my energy, but like the thought of other people that I care about. Like, because there's going to come a time when, you know, maybe I just didn't happen to get sleep and I've been working all day, and maybe a friend needs my help with something. Well, I want to be able to reach a little deeper and come out for that person. Like, yeah, your car's broken down. I'll come and pick you up. I'm really tired. Haven't eaten dinner yet. I feel like crap, but like, I'm going to come pick you up. And the ability to go a little deeper and find that is really a powerful thing. And in my eyes, we're showing you a way of getting there. Being in the woods and working on some skills like log lifting or martial arts, where there's a lot of self-discipline and building of resilience in your body. Like, you're definitely going to get healthier if you come to these workshops.
Yeah. And so if we're just meeting every other Saturday, which looks like the plan, the idea is like you're going to be implementing this stuff in at other times too, because you're not going to get the most awesome results doing this stuff every other week. I mean, there are some strength training programs where you can get results when you're almost doing a maximum amount every other week or every 10 days, like maximum static contraction training and stuff like that. There are some strategies you can use if you don't, but the whole idea is to like, how do you put this stuff into your life and be able to like see something? Oh, this log, I wonder if I can lift that. Okay, let's put it on the scale. No, there's no scale. You look at it, maybe I think I can lift it this way, and then you either do or you don't.
Yeah.
So maybe one is 9 feet long, maybe one is 6 feet long, maybe one. There are all these different sizes and shapes. And so all of the physics, if you're going to like break down the physics of it, it's extremely complicated.
Right.
But you can just look at it like, I think I can do it this way. And to be able to do things that you haven't done before. And to just like look at it, assess it, and figure it out. You're climbing a tree. You never climbed this tree before. Well, then how can you possibly do it? You just like grab here, there, just like work it out as you go. And I think you could, it's like anything else, you get better as you practice it and get more used to it, get more used to these situations. We're like, okay, now I'm 30 feet in the air. Here's this like pretty sketchy transition that I have to do. I got to get down, or I really want to get up to the top of this tree. I have another 30 feet to go.
Right.
It's getting a little sketchy right here, but I know this move. I can do this pull up, dip kind of thing. I've done it a million times.
Sure.
So I have confidence in myself that I can do this transition. And it's not any different at 30 feet than it is at 8 feet. So you just like, maybe the handles are a little bit different, but you just like still apply these same things. Like, I've never done this before, but I know I can do it. And keeping that calmness, because we both experience it. Like, sometimes you start to get up to train, and then like that fear kicks in a little bit. Like, you look down, like, oh, okay, I'm pretty high up here. Sure. That was a pretty sketchy transition. Maybe you get like something in your eye, maybe some bark gets in your eye, so you have to like. And we get up in these pine trees. Yeah. And you get up to the top, and it starts like swaying in the wind. Yeah. And that's a unnerving feeling at first. Yeah. But if you just like kind of get used to it, like, this is actually pretty fun. I trust the tree. Right. It's been here for 100 years. I think it's okay.
It's a novel experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be pretty amazing. And I think we'll all like grow as instructors, because part of it is that too, like taking ourselves and living up to this ideal of the protector pathway. Yeah. Because we have to like, part of it, there's like I've talked to a lot of people recently, they talk about imposter syndrome. Yeah. So like, do you ever get that where you're like, I'm not really good enough to do this?
Man, I'm afflicted with that.
Yeah.
I always have been. It's really interesting that you brought that up. I think about it a lot too. And just like, you're just like, you're standing there, there's a group of people, and you suddenly realize you're like, there's a circle of people and you're the only one 5 feet out of the circle. You can imagine what everyone else is thinking. You know, they think that you're doing it on purpose. Like you're like, I'm going to stay out of this. And it kind of breaks up the cohesiveness of the group. So like, I've felt myself doing that a lot. And like, I'm always working on it. I'm always noticing the proximity of other people in the group. And then trying to like get back in closer, and like naturally I'll just kind of sit back from things, or
because you're not thinking like you're good. You don't think you're like good enough to be like in that situation. Like what's
I don't know what it is exactly. I don't think it's like a good enough thing. I think it's more like I just like to be independent, and I like to be able to come and go as I please. But the problem with that is that when you're there, the experience isn't as valuable when you're not really plugged in. So like part of that is like, you know, you need to have a little bit of imposter syndrome if you're in a group that you definitely don't really fit in. You know, you can try and you can be friendly and have good conversations with people, but like, yeah, you might just realize that this is not my group of people. Like, and that's okay too. But what's problematic is where you literally say that all the time and you're not making any attempts to find that group of people where you don't feel like that. So I think it's important to try and engage with people as much as possible, because you're there. And like, what else are you going to do? You're there in a group of people, and you might not know them, but you should talk to them and see, maybe they have something really interesting to say to you that you're never going to forget. But I don't know why that imposter syndrome is there, or you know, what leads to that. But I don't know. Do you feel like that sometimes where you're checking out?
Yeah, sometimes like if I'm like, so I'll teach martial arts, but I also know a lot of martial arts teachers that are a lot better than me. So it's like, am I good enough to really be? So when I was teaching at White Pine and Matt started like, talking about advertising, I was like, no, I don't want to advertise. I don't even want to charge money. If people come, they can give a donation. It'll all go to White Pine. Cool. I want to do it to practice. But if they want to pay, I know this other guy that's a lot better than me, but then people will come to me and maybe I'm a better maybe I am a better teacher than that other guy who can beat me up.
Yeah.
I've had people say that too. Like one of my buddies, he was training with me for a while. And then he was training with this other guy he was like really, really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, Muay Thai. He was really, really good. He could probably beat me up.
Sure.
But my buddy was like, oh, well, you're a better teacher than him. So it's like, just because somebody is like better in some way doesn't mean they're like it's kind of a weird thing. So I try to be not like exaggerate, or I don't want to just like, oh, I suck. You don't want to learn from me. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm really good and I'm a better teacher than that other guy who can beat me up. Trust me. So it's like this weird sort of a thing. But yeah, that's kind of like what I think of as like the imposter syndrome, or like sometimes when I know my kettlebell technique is good. I know I have a good amount of strength, and there's been guys that are, maybe they can outlift me in some different ways that have came to me it's usually kettlebell training. Usually people will find me like on the strong first side, and they'll say, I want to learn these 2 techniques. They're not coming to me for a workout.
Okay.
They want high level technique instruction on like 2 things. They want to learn the snatch and the swing, or the clean and jerk, or something like that. But it's almost always 2 things: the get up and the swing. Or they're already strong, they're already fit. They don't need me for a workout. They need me for. So it can be kind of like, oh, here's this dude that can squat 500 pounds. I can't squat 500 pounds, but he's coming to me for lessons. Does he know that I can't squat 500 pounds? But it's not like that. And they pretty much always, I've never had anybody really complain like, oh, I thought you were going to be better than that, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this weird thing. So the imposter syndrome can, I think it's probably a healthy thing to have, because then you don't get complacent and you're like, I am so good.
Right.
I don't even need to read those
now.
books anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you look over there's like 40 books from the library, like on the floor over there.
Yes.
They used to be on this table, but I cleaned the table off for you to come here. Usually there's like there's stacks of like, there's yoga and there's all kinds of strength books and different things, physical therapy. And so it's like, man, people pay me a good amount of money they expect me to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I think a little bit of that imposter syndrome
it's healthy.
It's got to be a good thing. So like maybe like put a cap on that, unless you had like more to add for like that particular thing before we move on. Is so we were talking about this program that we're doing. People could travel for it, of course, but we wanted to like talk about it because if steal our idea.
Yeah, definitely steal.
Take the idea. You can, but oh, that's a cool idea. I want to teach rock lifting. Well, go out and lift some stones, get some technique stuff down, figure a few things out, and
it's free.
Get people out doing it, and just give it a try. If there's not a group in your area, start one. And I mean, that's, if you're in the area, get a hold of us. If you're not, start your own thing.
Yeah. Just if you can't find anybody yet, then go out and maybe try some things on your own too. I learned a lot of stuff just from going out in the woods, and even though no one told me to take it seriously, I was like, well, I notice I'm having this problem when I'm climbing trees. When I get to this scenario, this happens. I'm stumped. And I've just learned how to take little problems that no one else but me cares about seriously enough to solve them. And that helps so much. I feel like with your confidence in the woods is just like, finding a little challenge. Okay, I can't do it right away. That's fine. What can I get out of this? Like trying to pick up a rock that you can't quite get up off the ground. Okay, why can't I get it off the ground? Just do a little problem solving. Like, is it because the grip is so awkward? Maybe I need to feel around the rock and get a better handhold. Or maybe it's like, how are my feet set up on this rock? Am I getting over top of it enough so that it makes sense? Or what if I turn the rock like 90 degrees, and with the slope I'm standing on, that's going to work a little better. Yeah. And that's how you start to get like real information, and you're not just like reading stuff online or watching videos, which can all be good. But when you actually get out and do it, then you start to feel like you're on the right path to mastery versus just, going out and doing things you can do, and then never learning or having to go through the problem solving stage. I don't know. I mean, you and I, we love the puzzles. We love the challenges, and I don't like math, but I like, but I like picking up, something that's hard to pick up, or figuring out, like yesterday I was doing a couple, like going up a vine, and then I was going down a tree, and I wasn't sure that I could actually bridge the gap. And once I got up there, I was still very uncertain and quickly losing confidence. I was like, no, it's gonna be okay. You have enough strength left to hold onto this vine. What if I turn my head and lean my spine backwards? Oh, I got it. I got the tree with my hand. Okay, now I'm gonna try and transition my legs over. And yeah, just solving those puzzles, man, is part of why this is so powerful for you. It's like, I get out there and it's like what humans have always done. We've gone into new environments and figured it out. So like, it feels like this is what my ancestors did at some point in time. But yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of, maybe not to like actually get off the subject, like something else I was thinking about is that I look over at I know most people just listen to the show, but the show is on YouTube. It's the Path Notes YouTube channel now. But you can see I got this great horned owl tapestry for the background of the show. And what I've told the story a time or two, like what led to this, me getting this tapestry, was this other peak experience in the woods that had nothing to do with lifting a big rock or carrying a big log or something like that. It was this owl experience. And then I get the owl, and you can see like life hasn't always been easy. Like he's had some stuff go wrong, but so the owl experience, Joey and I were in the woods, the same woods we were at yesterday. It's like, what's your story of when we saw that owl? Like, I wonder how different your story may be than mine, because that's something else I think is interesting. Is like we can go through the woods, and I'm thinking maybe you're going to mention something else, but you don't mention that stuff. You're talking about other stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah. So there's so much that happens. There's these different like peak experiences, but yours is a little bit different than mine. We were there together. We probably weren't more than 30, 40, 50 feet apart the whole time.
Yeah.
But so it was like, yeah, we're at this pretty much the same place together. We're talking, hanging out, doing stuff. But your experience is not quite like mine.
Right.
So like, what's your like owl story? Because you got real up close to the owl too.
Yeah. We probably practically could have kissed that owl. We were so close. We were just playing in the woods, and we found a dead tree, like a big dead tree with big branches coming off the ground, and we were kind of doing our thing. Yes, please. Jumping around and bouncing, and we weren't trying to be sneaky or anything. And I just remember being real focused on the next jump I was looking at. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's an owl over there. And it even took me a second to like process that it was so close to us. It was just farther down the same log. This owl was sitting there looking directly at us, a huge owl here. And you just never see them that low and not flying away. So you're like, let's get closer. And I just assumed it would fly away right away. I was like, as soon as we address this thing and it realizes we know it's there, it's going to leave. But no, you got a little closer, and you're kind of sneaking through the woods. I was kind of hanging back because I want to see what would happen. And I want to try to get some cool shots of you get close to this owl. And you just kept getting closer and closer to the owl. And when you're like still 15 feet away or more, I was like, that's probably where I would stop personally. Because owl's not like a super dangerous creature, but like I probably just would have like been like, this is pretty crazy. I'm going to stop the experience here. It doesn't need to get any better because it's already so good. You were like, I'm going to see how close I can get. So you're 10 feet away, and then you climb up onto the tree again so that you can be face to face. And as soon as you start to go for the climb, I think there's 0% chance he's going to get on this log without the owl leaving. But no, you got on. You're like straddling the log, and you're looking this owl right in the eyes. You're super, super close. The owl's looking at you right back. And I was still, a solid 20 feet away or so. I took a few pictures of you. I'm just like, man, I know he's having some kind of transcendent experience down there, because he's not moving at all. You're just sitting there staring at it. And I could tell I shouldn't interrupt. Like I was just like, I'm just going to let him have this moment and take a few pictures. And I just kept expecting it to fly away. And then you got off it and you were like, you should come up here and do this. I was like, oh my God. All right. So I did the same thing, and it doesn't move. And now I'm staring directly into the eyes of an owl. I'm looking at its talons.
Those were crazy.
They're like velociraptor talons. They look like ridiculous weapons.
And they just keep getting bigger and bigger and sharper.
Yeah. Yes. It's just like you're looking in this thing's face, and it's this insane clarity. That's what I felt like. It was like it clearly knows what is reality right now. Like it's not like a squirrel where they're what they do is cool, but you can tell they're not very smart. But like an owl, it was totally different. It was like it knew exactly what was going on, and it was holding its ground. That was the impression I got, was like, I'm not intimidated by you. I have options. But like you went back after I sat with the owl, and we're getting even closer, and you were like, should I touch it? And I was like, no, don't do it, man. Because I just kept thinking about those talons and how big of a hole it was going to rip in your arm or your face. And I was worried about you a little bit, because you were like, you really want to connect with this thing. But I just kept thinking about every like park ranger spiel I'd ever heard about not touching wild animals and about how wrong that can go. So it's just fascinating.
Yeah, they will attack people. They will.
I'm glad you didn't touch that thing, man.
Yeah, I was like, I kept just like thanking the owl for letting me get closer.
Yeah.
And then, but when I was like kind of asking if it was okay to touch, I was pretty much getting a solid no on that one.
Yeah, he
but
kind of hissed.
I wanted to, and like I'd get my hand a little bit closer, it'd start to open its mouth.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy, and like I got this. Like the message that I was getting was, "Who are you?" And then it was like this whole thing that I was like working out, was like this crazy experience.
Yeah.
And that was like the message that I got was, "Who are you?" And that's, kind of like what the show is about. Like, who are you? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
And so did you get like any kind of like message from Al, or like what was like, did you have any kind of like, I know it was this awesome experience to get that close to like the apex predator of the, that's pretty much what they are. They'll fuck eagles up sometimes. They don't win like every fight with the eagles, but they win some of them.
Yeah, it's crazy, because obviously an eagle, 6.5 foot wingspan, something like that, and owl's nowhere near that big, so that's insane.
And double, like way heavier. And
I just kept thinking like, like the woods produce this, like, and it's kind of a reminder of how ferocious. For me, it was like how pointed. Like this bird is a killer. And when you look in its eyes, I saw the eyes of a killer, but a beautiful killer, like graceful, and so, intelligent, like we keep saying. And to see like the beauty of it mixed with the ferocity of it, and just like having the woods, all around us to look at the same time. I just kept looking at the bird and looking at the woods, and I'm like, how did this thing get shaped by this? It's so powerful. It's really powerful, and it's intimidating me. And here I am, like, I'm way heavier than it. I'm way stronger than it. And theoretically I'm smarter than it, but it's still having this insane effect on me. And you just can't ignore it. It just kind of, I don't know, it focused me in. It made me feel like I was an owl a little bit, I guess. Like be more like this guy.
Yeah, it was really something, and that's what led me to, like, I found this tapestry that looked almost the same head positions.
Yeah,
like
that's
these eyes that are just like
exactly what it looked like.
looking right at you, and it kind of felt like just about as big. It was like didn't feel like real far off from like what was really going on. But yeah, it was like, and what is that owl's place? Like, do the other animals? Of course, I would imagine all the animals in this area know this owl.
Got to.
Like every deer, certainly every squirrel knows this dude.
Yeah.
And they talk like, oh, gotta watch out, homeboy's
Yeah.
just like 100 feet that way, so you better like watch out. Yeah, it's just
yeah,
really amazing thing. So the point of like kind of getting into that is, even if you're like if you're not like, oh, I climbed 60 feet up in this tree, it was just this amazing thing, or I lifted this rock and carried it, it had to have been 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Anybody pretty much can have these peak experiences in the woods. Maybe it's just like seeing a deer. I don't know how many deer I've seen, thousands of deer. To me, it's still like super cool.
Yes.
Just like see a deer or see a woodpecker. I've seen thousands of woodpeckers. They're my favorite bird. But to see one, it's like, oh, it's just like this.
Yeah.
It's really cool every time. It's not like, oh, there's another woodpecker.
Right.
Oh, it's deer.
Right.
It's always like, wow, look at deer.
Yeah.
I've seen a million of them, but wow, it's still cool every time. So, I guess like to kind of like segue, maybe an awkward segue, but like, what was the other thing that you were like, were you want to talk about, like the book you're writing, or
just more like maybe some practices that we do, like we're just have kind of talked about, like the real nitty gritty like physical practices, but now here we're talking about these different animals and how we're on the lookout for them. And how a huge part of our philosophy on this kind of thing that makes it different from fitness is we're thinking about our senses a lot more and how to engage with what's around us with our senses. So like I have a conscious practice dedicated to my hearing and to my eyes. So this is something I work on. Like I like sit down and I have a protocol that I follow to help those things not only stay sharp, but maybe improve. And that's something that you're not going to get in a gym. You're not going to get anywhere. There's no place you can go besides maybe like a yoga class where they might have you tune in to something like that. So like one thing I've been doing is I found an excellent source of information about eyesight, like these people called Envision Self-Healing. It's just two guys, I think they're from the UK, and they make all these videos on different eye exercises. So a lot of people think that you can't make your vision any better than it is, but at the same time, you have a whole field of medicine called vision therapy that does that exact thing, where even athletes who don't have any eyesight issues will go there to improve their ability to integrate their eyes in their brain. So like what we're doing when we're looking for like a pileated woodpecker is we're calibrating our hardware and our software and trying to tune out some things and tune into other things. And that's a big part of our mindset when we're in the woods, is like we're using our brain and our eyes to their fullest potential by doing this. So like every day I've been doing about 4 or 5 different eye exercises because I want my eyes to be sharper. And when we were in the woods yesterday, I did them about an hour before, and it definitely makes a difference. Like for example, like you have convergence and divergence. So when people are trying to see things closer, like this microphone, as I look at the microphone, my eyeballs get closer together. And then now I look up and past you, I can see your fridge back there. Now my eyes have had to diverge a little bit and get a little farther apart. So one thing I might do is I'll look at the microphone, I look at you, and then I look beyond you, and then back at you and back at the microphone. And now I'm just taking my eyes back and forth and getting them tuned in. I'm turning my eyes into like this conscious development practice. So yeah, that's like overlooked. I feel like you just think my senses are my senses. That's all I got. That's all I'm going to get. It's all going to get worse over time. It's like real negative, but I like the possibilities that are opened up. by engaging them. So have you done that kind of work?
Yeah, there was a book written by Mantak Chia. I think it's called like The Art of Cosmic Vision or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea being, he was credited a lot of his information to, I forget her name, but the idea is basically your eyes, have these lenses and the muscles around them squeeze in different ways. So you're focusing on something far away.
Sure.
The muscles around the eyes are doing something different.
Yeah.
And so you can get better by tuning those muscles.
Sure.
By contracting the right amount at the right time for what you're focusing on. So that is a skill you can improve on, instead of just thinking of it as like this solid lens that just gets wore over time.
Right.
It can actually improve. And some of the exercises that it had were say you look at a sign or a picture on the wall or something like that, and you color it in without skipping with your eyes. Left, right, and you just like color it in with your eyes. And a lot of times, at first you'll have the tendency to want to like skip over a spot.
Yeah.
Just like little by little, left, right, up, down, and you color in this painting. And then kind of like what you were talking about before, you look at something far, something close, something, like what's the farthest thing you can see? Okay, what's the closest thing you can see?
Right.
All these different things, and it seems to have helped. And like some of that book, it did get into, like I said, like some of these people, they were doing it enough that they could even see stars in the daytime. It's like, okay, maybe. I mean, you can see the sun. That's not crazy.
Yeah, you can see the sun. I could see maybe at certain times you could see a few extra stars, but if they're talking like noon, full sun, I would say extremely unlikely.
Yeah.
But I hear you like that. There's actual, totally forget what ancient peoples did this, but in their society, hunting was big, and there's actually a cluster of stars that they would use as a metric, where like it's a certain constellation. And if you could see like 3 out of the stars, man, you're probably not going to be a great hunter. You can see 5 out of the stars, they're like, all right, you're pretty great. Anything beyond that, it's like, wow, you're a stellar hunter. Like, I always found that interesting. I forget what constellation it is, although I can recognize it out in the sky. But yeah, it applies to your life. You need to focus your eyes in different ways. And like, we're always staring at cell phones and laptops, or we're inside where the distance is never that far. So like, it's the percentage of people who wear glasses because they're nearsighted and they have myopia is what they call it. Then it goes up more and more based off of how much education you have. There's a direct correlation. If you have a higher degree, like a master's or a PhD, like I forget what the numbers exactly are, but it's beyond 50% by the time you get to PhD. I think it's like a 65% chance that you'll have myopia.
Because you've done so much reading.
So it used to be just like the more highly educated people who are getting this myopia. But now, because everyone's staring at their phones and stuff all the time, a lot of people, including myself, think that the incidence of this is just going to get worse. And here we are just pretending like the only thing we can do is to have glasses and contacts. But no, I say clearly, if your lifestyle choices can make it get worse, then why couldn't your lifestyle changes make it get better? The eye is just metabolic tissue that's adapting to the stimuli in your life. So like one super basic example of how to make your eyesight better is to just, seek out the farthest points sometimes. So like when you're going down the road, you need to pay attention to the car in front of you, but also it's a great chance to see really far because it's clear for a long time. So people who are more myopic, they tend to just look at closer things because they can see it better. when you need to train yourself to do the opposite. You need to also seek out the farthest points, and that starts to retrain you.
Yeah, that's really cool. The Man Talk Chia book I was reading, it said that like one thing that he started like learning from this woman how to do this. I don't know if it was from her books or in person. I think it was from her books. But he was saying like one thing that he regretted was once he started on it, he committed to it, he threw his glasses away.
Oh, that's bold.
And then he said that he regretted that. What's better to do is take your glasses off, work on the exercises, and then go back and get a weaker prescription.
Yes.
So then you have like these other glasses for however long you're taking them off, you're doing their exercises, you go back to the eye doctor, you get even less of a prescription, a weaker prescription, and then have a progression for it. But I think I was just watching a London Reel with Man Talk Chia on it, and he was not wearing glasses. I don't think he was wearing, I don't know if he was wearing contacts or not.
Yeah.
But I do know from reading his book, he said he just threw his glasses away. He was committed to this eyesight thing. And
yeah, I've also made that mistake. I remember one time back when I was in high school, because I've been working on this forever, I tried to do that. I was like, I'm just literally not going to wear my glasses until I can see again. It's kind of being like, I'm just going to lift super heavy maximum every day. Mm-hmm. It's like the equivalently ignorant to try and do that. It's like not a good approach, but what that guy recommends with the weaker prescriptions and stuff is echoed through all the best opinions that I've found on how to make your eyesight better. And like, I do that right now. Like technically my prescription's -2 in my left eye and -2.5. That's like diopter. So when I buy my contacts, that's one of the main numbers that's important. So what I'm wearing right now is -2 in the left eye and -2.25 in the right. So basically it's a quarter of a diopter too weak for my right eye. And the idea is I wanted to get my eyes a little closer to imbalance. And in order to do that, I want to be safe, and I want to move it the smallest increment possible. So they only sell contacts in certain increments. So that was the next closest one. So I just order it from the UK, because you can just type in the numbers for your prescription. I don't have to prove that a doctor told me I should be wearing -2.25. So that's what I do. And I've been doing it for a solid year now. And I can see great. I've never had any issues with it because I play it, I play everything safe, like for example, when I first did that, I kept 2.5 contacts in my car. So that way, if I ever felt unsafe at all, then I could simply take out the 2.25 and switch out for the stronger one. And hey, now I'm good. Like, you don't have to be extreme, throw your glasses in the garbage can or what have you.
So are you planning on, so one's 2.25? Are you thinking next time you're just going to get a set of 2s, or what do you think? Like, what do you?
I tried that. I already tried to make that shift. I did the -2.25 for 3 months. And then I was like, okay, 3 months is a decent amount of time for a stimulus. If I was weight training for 3 months, and I was comfortable with that, I would move it up. So I thought, hey, I'll see if it works. So I went to -2 in both eyes, and I just couldn't. I was still able to get by safely and do things like driving, but I felt more nervous about it. I felt like I was pushing my eyes too hard, and they started to feel a little strained. Even though I was trying to relax them, I had to back down, man. So I went back up to 2.25, and I'm just going to stay there until I really need to change it up. But yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Just like you don't have to do things when you're ready, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like buy a weight vest and then wear it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the equivalent of what it is when you're like, you need your eyes 24/7. I can't afford to be like burning them out. And then I have like 6 more hours in the day, and like, I don't feel like looking at anything. That's like, you don't want to be there. That's uncomfortable. But Definitely going to use your restroom real quick.
Okay, let me hit pause.
Cool.
All right, we're back on.
Cool.
The pee has been peed.
Much needed.
So we were just talking about the vision stuff, and then you have other senses that you work on also.
Yes. Like one of them is hearing and just playing with sound. So like, you have like attentive listening, where maybe you try and hear more out of one side than the other, or just developing more awareness in your ears. Like I'll practice ear wiggling, because I saw a research study where they said that infants, when they test their hearing, it's one of the things they'll look for is a little bit of wiggle in the ears when they hear the sound, because otherwise, how are you going to communicate with the baby? Like, you can't be like, did you hear this beep? Because they can't talk, right? So you watch their ears, and if they move, that's one test that they do for whether or not they heard it. So I figure like, okay, I'm going to take that in the opposite logic. Learning to wiggle your ears helps your hearing. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if there's any kind of, scientific evidence to support that, but I couldn't wiggle my ears when I first tried, and I worked on it. And now I can wiggle the ears, and I can separate the ears, and I can just do one side.
Wow.
Yeah. It took me a while, but now I can do it.
Yeah. That's interesting. My dad could wiggle his ears, and kind of like what we were just like starting to get into before we hit record again, was my dad was an awesome singer. He could play guitar well, was an awesome singer. You've had like, how many singing lessons have you taken?
Let's see, man. I've probably had at least a dozen, because one of my clients is a voice coach, and so she offered to give me some lessons, and so I agreed. And yeah, man, it definitely changes the way you talk and the way you sing forever, just to get a few basic principles in your head while you're doing it. Like you don't sing and talk the same way. Mm-hmm. You try and enunciate the vowels more when you sing. So when you like think about the words you're about to sing, like you break down the word into like, what's the main vowels in that word, and how do I make that stand out? Yeah, it's just really important to like have a couple of those ideas in your head while you're singing, like knowing not to tense your throat up too much when you try and go high. That's important. Or when you go really low, that's even more relaxed in your voice. So you don't want to create this artificial sound, but instead you want to remove enough tension, have enough air, pronounce the vowels, and there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, I think I have. There was I've talked to a couple different singing teachers. There's one that was over just not too far from here, and then there was one, she lives just like a block that way. So I called her the other day, and I think I'm going to get one next weekend. Awesome. Next Saturday.
That's so cool.
I think is the plan.
Yeah.
So I thought I might try a couple teachers and see which one was, like which like resonated with me or whatever. Like,
sure.
Because I have like people probably heard on the show, like I'll sing with no music going on, and then I did a couple shows that were me singing and playing guitar. And one of them, like, so I like that, like where somebody's got kind of like playing guitar and they're telling stories, and then so I did one kind of like how I started playing guitar, and then I was like singing some stuff. It was called Heartbeat. I don't remember how long ago it was, but if people want to listen to it. But I don't like think of myself as like some great singer. And then I did a show, I think it was just like 3 shows ago, just called like Acoustic Guitar and Me. And you said you just heard it.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing, I did like this long Robert Hunter tribute. Grateful Dead is one of my favorite bands. Robert Hunter was one of their main writers, and he died a few weeks ago, and I did a tribute show to him, and I realized I had my microphone up too loud. So even though I don't think I'm that great of a singer, this was even worse because I had the microphone up too loud. And so it's like I wonder like what people hear when I'm singing. Like my dad was a really good singer. He sounded kind of like Elvis without trying to sound like Elvis. And it's like putting my stuff out there, and there's like this thing like, okay, who is a better singer, Whitney Houston or Neil Young?
Right.
Okay, I would say Whitney Houston is a lot better singer than Neil Young.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to Whitney Houston. I want to listen to Neil Young.
Yeah.
Nothing against Whitney Houston.
Right.
But there's not, I mean, not that there might be some songs in here that I can listen to, but I'm not gonna be able to hang in there to listen to a whole album of Whitney Houston. I'm not gonna be able to hang in there, but put some Neil Young on. I don't care if he's, it's like part of the charm is like, that's him. Like, why couldn't he find a better singer? Why wouldn't he just play guitar? Well, he's not that great of a guitar player either.
Right. Yeah.
So here you have this guy. He's not a good guitar player, and he's not a good singer. Damn, he's awesome.
Damn, he's good. Yeah.
He can write a song.
Yeah.
He's so I guess like when I can take like constructive criticism and stuff too, but it's like when you said you just heard my show where I was playing, like what goes through your, were you just listening on your phone too?
Yes, I was just on my phone. So disclaimer on that, because like it'd be much better with like even like car speakers.
I listened to it in my car, and it sounds a lot different in my car than it does on the phone.
I'll re-listen.
But still, it's not like,
it's interesting to hear that like the style that you went for, and it made a lot of sense with just like the way you approach a lot of other things. Is like it came across as like this like more old school kind of sound, where it's like definitely a little Johnny Cash style, and some of those like more what's the word, like not country, but a little bit essence of country. And then you have like this kind of deep knowing, I've lived things, I've been through things kind of edge to your voice, which is cool, man. There's depth to it. That's what I'm trying to say. It was really interesting to hear you, and I could tell that you're experimenting with different ways to make the noises. And I think that some of the almost like questions I can hear you asking with your voice, going to a couple of voice lessons is going to like clarify that for you. Of like, here's when, like one thing I heard to be constructive about it is like the amount of air that you're putting into the notes. So you're hitting the notes. Sometimes you're using the right amount of air, and sometimes you weren't using the right amount of air. And that comes across because it starts to get kind of like, what's the word? It's not like horsey, but it's like there's extra wind in the room. You know, there's sometimes I can hear that where the amount of air isn't matched with the intensity of the note you're producing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like you think I'm running out and I'm trying to like finish the word, or is it like
sometimes you're doing too much air? Yeah, and this is just like from a second of hearing, and I'm not a voice coach, don't know, but the only reason I recognize it because I do that.
Okay.
And my voice coach pointed that out to me when I was taking lessons, was like, look, man, this is what's happening. Like finding this match, it takes a little like time to hone it in, and like you weren't doing it all the time by any means, but like that's one thing that I bet you whoever you choose will bring up is like, yo, this is where it's a little too breathy, is what they like to say.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And so the like some of my favorite singers have that like kind of like a raspy sort of,
it's kind of nice sometimes,
thing going on. But I also like, I really want to get better, and part of like what I'm like just throwing it out there, like I'll sing like these different things with no music to like try to like tune myself. It's just like people can say whatever they want. I mean, I hope people like it, or at least like kind of entertained by it, or I mean, I'm not like prepare yourselves for the greatness.
Yeah.
I'm about to. I'm going to be. I'm going to blow your mind here with my capabilities, but it's just like everybody sings pretty much. Like,
yeah.
and then you have the Whitney Houstons, you have the Neil Youngs, and so and part of I think is just like getting over the. I'm putting this my stuff out. This is me. This is what I sound like. There was no editing. There was no take two. There was no.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes long. It took 20 minutes to do it. And
nice.
if you heard it, I started playing one song and I kind of like forgot where I was. I was like, oh fuck. I was like, I'll come back to that one. And I just started playing the next one and came back to it.
Sure.
It's like there's no auto tune. There's no like crazy effects. It goes right from my microphone to the computer.
Yeah.
And so it's like this is just what it is, and I'm not expecting a big record deal or anything. But yeah, like so the ones that I picked. So like I like the sound of like a lot of like the old like black gospel. And I was watching something. And even like Elvis Presley gospel, which was like Southern, of course he was white, but it's kind of like black gospel stuff.
Sure.
And I like a lot of that sound. And I remember watching some documentary thing where somebody's going to this black gospel choir, and she was coming from a classical background of you're reading the notes. Okay, so you have the sheet music and you're singing along and you're reading the notes, and the black gospel choir they're not doing that.
Yeah.
And their thing was like you stay close to the fire and you're bound to get warm. Yeah. So come here, you sing with us.
Right.
You'll start to get it. You don't have to read the notes.
Right.
And and it's a different sort of thing. And so like one of the teachers that I picked, she's a black woman. I'm not sure how old she is. I don't want to guess. Probably something like 40 something, 50 maybe. I don't know exactly. I haven't actually met her in person. She lives right. And the other one was this, I don't know how old she is, probably in her 30s, white woman, went to Berkeley.
Got it.
I think she sings like more of a country style, where they both say they teach like everything. So like both classically trained.
Yeah.
And like one of my like favorite singers and guitar players, and I think it's really rare, is Johnny Lang. And I think he's one of the few, or like one of the best.
Yeah.
He's the best example I can think of who can both play guitar at 100% effort, sing at 100% effort.
Amazing.
And he's just belting it out and just squeezing every bit of emotion into his playing. Yeah. And it comes out in the guitar. You know, he's guitar master, singing master, has been since he was a kid. And there's like plenty of people that can sing and play guitar at the same time, but most of them aren't like belting it out and just playing the hell out of guitar like him. So it's a matter of like finding but I'm not going to go to these teachers to say, I want to sound like Johnny Lang.
Right.
It's like, I'm not trying to do like my Johnny Lang impersonation. No, those songs I wrote, most of those songs I wrote, or some of them I wrote when I was like maybe shortly after high school. Like they're like 20 years old. Like a couple of those songs. One of them, which it's kind of like a weird thing to play. In a way, I wrote for a girlfriend of mine, and it was like that lullaby thing that I did.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like weird to play that, and I'm putting it out. I know even though she's married someone else now, I know she listens to the show sometimes. We don't talk very often, but sometimes something might come up where she still talks to my daughter.
Yeah.
So there's I guess it's cool. Like say that out loud, make that public. I don't know. It's true, but so it's kind of like weird to play that because it's like a song that I wrote for her. I'm not with her anymore.
Yeah.
But then like, do you have stuff that you've like written? Have you written your own stuff?
You know, I've written out lyrics before. And I have a real hard time. Like I come up with something that I like, And then the next time I try and play it, because I haven't like, transcribed it into like notes that I've written out or anything, I have a really hard time recreating it. So one thing I've tried recently is I found an app that tells you what note, whatever noise the phone is hearing.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool.
super useful because like I come with the melody usually with my voice, like here's the lyrics, and I'll run through and I'll figure out a melody I like, and then I pull out the app and it tells me what notes, so then I'll write down the chords when they need to be struck in relation to the word. So here's the lyrics written, I'll write like a D over the word walking. So that's one tool I've been trying to help. But no, man, I mainly just I do like a lot of improvisational singing, where like a lot of the times it doesn't even have words, and I'm singing over other songs because I love the challenge of like harmonizing with the song, right? Like if it's in the minor key, it's going to sound a lot different. I have to use my voice in that way versus a major key. And yeah, I won't even use words. I'll just like make noises that match with those noises, and I'll get creative. So, the chorus of the song is hitting certain notes. I'm hitting other notes, but we're both in harmony. I do a lot of this kind of singing. And then sometimes I'll practice really basic songs like the Star Spangled Banner, where it's not an easy song to sing. But I've heard it so many times that even though I'm not very good at remembering lyrics, I actually do know the words to that song. And so I even have recorded and posted like publicly, which is like the only thing I've ever done. I'm so self-conscious.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, on the 4th of July, right?
Yeah, man, like right around there. And like that was hard for me to do. I almost didn't post it. I thought
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like
it's crazy.
What's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen? Nothing.
You suck.
Right.
Yeah.
But, okay. That's fair. Yeah, man. Just like challenging yourself and being brave about being a noob at something. Like I don't know about singing, but I'm gonna try. And I'm going to make the mistakes. And even if 80% of it is shit, maybe 20% will be good. And that's a starting point.
I think part of that's like, again, that's like why I was like just starting to do the stuff on the air. Cause I was reading a lot of lyrics. I have like the Robert Hunter book. I have a Grateful Dead book. I'm just like reading lyrics, read some Rumi, read some Khalil Gibran, read some Robert Hunter. And then I was like, I'm going to start playing and singing. And it's part of just like putting it out there, because you can look up, Led Zeppelin, you could say like, maybe the greatest rock and roll band ever.
Yeah, arguably, yeah.
Now look on YouTube, watch a performance. Yeah. How many thumbs downs do they get? A lot. What else do you want besides the greatest rock and roll band playing their stuff?
Right.
But there's still some people that are like, thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Show them.
Or like the Joe Rogan podcast, which like people can say what they want, but almost immediately he gets a ton of listeners as soon as he puts them out. They get published at different times, but still and there's enough people like checking in on it, and then it'd be like within an hour. There's like 1,000 people thumbs down. Thumbs down. I didn't like that.
Right. I'd love to see the like percentage of total minutes of that episode they listened to before they hit the thumbs down too.
Yeah.
Versus like the real fans are probably like gonna listen to the whole thing and then decide how they really feel about the whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever thumbs down video.
I have a few times. So I'm real angry,
Yeah,
I could do a strong move, like click a button with a picture of a hand.
I'm making a statement. Yeah, it's strange, but like the fear of like singing in public speaking. Yeah. It's like, what are people gonna do so I can put my stuff out? Neil Young, if he was like waiting to sound like Whitney Houston, we'd never have Neil Young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's about finding your voice, right?
yeah,
It's like, you know, what really works for you, and how are you going to figure that out unless you try a lot of stuff. Like you probably have an idealized version of what your voice will sound like. But my advice is, detach yourself from that idealized version and just try and figure out, what does my voice, how does it, when does it operate best? And then where does it operate the worst, and work a little bit on the worst, but also find the strong zone as well. Like one thing that I would guess, because you talk with a deep voice, is that you, like, hitting the high notes for you is going to be a weird feeling.
yeah,
Like when you're going to do vocal exercises for sure with either of these teachers, and she's going to take you up that piano. And when you get up to these high notes, my guess is you're starting to get a little nervous or anxious. So my advice is, know that's coming and start working on that immediately. I'm going to be cool with high pitches coming out of this mouth. It's permitted.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, you're right. I don't try to hit like any kind of high note at all.
Yeah.
My dad could. He could sing like real low. He could sing and would get up high, and just like had this like, this range of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see like what comes out, because I've been like singing and playing guitar since I started playing guitar when I was 13.
Yeah.
And so like more recently I've started to like try to like dig in more, try to play pretty much every day, try to like get better. And I don't know that I thought about doing like some like live from my apartment concerts, like on YouTube or stuff, because audiences can really ruin it for me. I don't like noise when I'm playing. I don't like a fan to be on. I don't like. So if I'm playing and people are talking, I'm like, it would drive me bonkers. But like when we were, like there was that White Pine event the other day where we were competing and stuff, and like it said on the thing that they were going to have live music. And so I asked him, I was like, "Oh, cool, you have bands playing?" Yeah. It was actually, it was before he figured out who was going to play there. He's like, "Actually, I haven't figured it out yet."
Yeah.
And he said something like, "He's like, yeah, you can bring your guitar and stuff." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like I can. I mean, I could.
Right.
But it's like I'm almost. I feel like I'm almost like preparing for something. And if I did play somewhere, it would probably be something like White Pine, where I know the audience is going to be cool. Whoever shows, everybody that goes there is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going somewhere expecting something. I don't know. It's like, do you think about playing? Because you play guitar too. So do you think about like playing for people, or why are you going through the singing lessons? You say you sing at least like a half hour a day. Why? Why?
Because it's there. And I want to own it. I want to own my voice better. And I really I've always admired people who can use their voice well, like publicly speaking, and that person who as soon as everyone starts singing happy birthday, they're like all into it, and they don't mind being a little standout, and they're comfortable with that. And I always feel like closed off about it, and I'm not okay with living the rest of my life being closed off about it. So I started to work on it, and I do fantasize ever since I was young, about doing like a public performances. And when I was in high school, I played in a band, and I remember we did Battle of the Bands.
You were playing guitar?
Yeah, I was playing the rhythm guitar. And so we played all these local shows, just at bars and stuff. We couldn't drink or anything, but we were just there. And that was always pretty small audiences, maybe 20 at most, maybe 30. But then we did this Battle of the Bands. It was one of the last shows I ever played. And there's it was down at the riverfront in Madison, Indiana. And there's, at least probably 100 people either in the crowd right there, and then there's all these people walking around, so probably more. And it was like, damn, this is what it feels like to be on a stage and to perform. And it's amazing how you can try and like visualize what that's going to be like. And you can have doubts about it. But once you get up there, you're like, I want to entertain these people more than I am nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I remember just feeling like I'm hitting all these chords and like I'm even doing a little bit of like extra improv here, and I can actually hear myself too. I know they're hearing my individual guitar ring out, and that was cool for me because I don't know if I ever would have done that otherwise unless I'd been in that band. But like, yeah, all the time, man, I think about going to an open mic or something and singing something for real. But it's kind of like that imposter syndrome you're talking about. Like, I'm having a hard time just committing and being like, okay, I wrote this song. Now I'm gonna work on it. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some tedious parts. I'm gonna work on it until I have something that's ready for everyone else. And I'm not gonna make that ready point like perfection, because otherwise it's just a reason why I never have to rise to the occasion and perform. So I think it's important to have realistic standards and maybe even set a deadline. Like, I don't know, man, if you want to go to an open mic, maybe we could find a place, find a deadline, and then like, okay, now we have 3 months to go do a song. That would be a lot easier if you were there too.
Yeah. Get up and like, yeah, it's open mic. It might be a cool one because I think most people are there to like really listen. So you're not just playing at some bar where people are just going to like drink and there happens to be some guy playing the guitar. Because that can really ruin it. You like, I've been to, these places where I'm going to like listen to somebody play, and then there's some like loud group over there, like not paying any attention to the music. They're loud about whatever. Like, man, it can be like so frustrating. But yeah, that's a definite possibility. Because I have like, there's some stuff that I can do, and like I was what probably made me like better and in another way slowed me down was when I started getting into classical playing, and I'm like learning these like classical, Spanish classical, a little bit of flamenco kinds of stuff.
It's tough.
It was hard. Of course, it made me better at finger picking. It made me better at, and I like a lot of that stuff. But then I'm not really learning the Neil Young songs. I'm not learning these other songs. And because to me, it got kind of like boring to play. Like I'd learn a song and then it's like, I didn't really want to play it anymore. But then, but once I got into like the classical stuff, it was like, it was always like fun to play. And it was, but now I'm kind of like going back to where I'm learning these like 2 and 3 chord songs that are fun and just like, so it's like kind of like a stepping back to go forward kind of thing. It would be, I would do it. It's like the open mic thing, or like the something at White Pine where it's not like the Ryan Hadley concert. It's like there's some other event going on, and then there's gonna be music, and I'll play it, something like that.
Yeah, man.
That would be kind of fun, so.
That would be cool. Just like very little pressure. And, yeah, man. Because even playing the guitar and singing at the same time that'd be tough. Like I suck at that so much. Because like I grew up playing piano, and it was always so much about like playing the instrument that I didn't even try to like sing over the piano until maybe a few years ago. And I played piano lessons from like 4 to like 18, so like to me it's always like, wait, I can't put 100% concentration into the instrument, and then like sometimes the rhythm of the voice, it kind of breaks with the rhythm of the instrument, and like I'm still figuring that out, man. But I don't know, maybe we could play for each other or something like that. Like
kind of getting used to the thing. And because when I like listened back to the recording that I did, that last one, like it seemed like there was like maybe it was like 2 different spots where it seemed like there was like a glitch in the recording. And I was like, certainly I didn't make that sound. Like it sounded like maybe like it didn't record for a beat, or it skipped a second. And I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure I didn't do that.
Yeah.
But maybe I did.
man.
But maybe, so there's like a couple, because it was like the same sort of thing, same sort of glitch.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was just in the way it recorded, but it could be like, but there were other times where I thought it sounded like one thing, and I listened back to the recording, not talking about the one that I published, but I was like, oh, I thought it sounded this way, but then when I listen back, it doesn't. And what can also throw people off is, like, I hear my voice as it is now.
Right.
My voice to you sounds different.
Right.
Because my skull is vibrating. So sometimes people, they will get surprised at what they sound like on the recording and think, oh, I don't sound like that. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
You don't sound like what you think you sound like. You sound like what the recording sounds like.
Right.
As long as it's a good quality recording.
Yeah.
So that I think can throw people off. Like, oh, I hate my singing voice, or I hate my like. Well, it's just you're just not used to it.
You're not used to it. Yeah.
But that's what you sound like.
That's what you sound like.
So when you listen to yourself on the recording, that's what people hear. But when you hear yourself speaking and singing, not on the recording, that's not what other people hear. Yeah. That's kind of a weird thing to like understand and to get by. It's like, oh, whoa, that sounds weird.
Yeah. And I know like I remember when I was a part of that band, we had our high school band teacher record us so we could make like a little mini sampler. And that was real interesting because like he used Audacity, which I know like you're a little bit familiar with to edit the audio. And one thing that he would do on all the vocal tracks was he's like, look, like part of the reason it sounds so different is actually because, you know, we're taking this analog thing and making it digital and not everything's perfect. You know, our equipment could be higher standard. So what he did was like, you know, there's like a line, right, that represents the sound digitally. And he put in these parameters into Audacity to take the peaks, set a max peak allowed and a max like valley allowed. And what that did was it made the whole vocal track sound a lot cleaner and more like it actually did in reality. So there is something to be said of like, yeah, sometimes the equipment distorts it. And I think it's pretty easy to do with Audacity. You might look into that. But
yeah, I used Audacity to record. If I do an audio only show, which because I use Zoom meeting for the speaking and the video, but for some reason, even though it sounds fine with us speaking, if we start like playing guitar, it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it's in the Zoom. I sent him a message. Some guy that I was talking about that's coming on, he's, we haven't set a time yet, but he's done, I don't know if I want to say too much about him, but he's had like some programs like Guitars for Vets.
Okay.
And he's, he sent me a message on LinkedIn about coming on the show. And so I started looking into him. I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. And then I was telling him, I was like, it'd be cool if you played, but I don't know how to make it sound good. Because Zoom doesn't sound good for music. And he said that he ran into the same thing, but then he told me about this other setting. Yeah. And I was like, I'll check that out. But then I got to thinking about it and I was like, I don't think he's right about that. But he might be, but it just takes like some figuring out how to. Yeah. Man. But the Audacity, I never did any editing with it. It was just like hit the recording and to make sure the microphone level the peak doesn't hit the top of the thing.
Yeah. I mean, so I remember it being like he showed us how to do it on the computer and it was like literally 2 boxes that he checked or something. I mean, he did it real quickly to each track and it helped so much, especially if there's any pops or like cracks. It helped like get rid of some of that and
the plosives and stuff. I think is what they call it or something like that. A lot of like really good musicians like Audacity and it's free. Yeah. So I think there is a paid version of it too. Okay. But you can record high quality stuff for free. Like I said, do the editing and you can send it out as MP3 in different kinds of files. So if people are like wanting to record themselves and see what happens, you can record podcasts, you can record whatever with it.
Lots of people do the DIY recording these days. It seems like where, you know, like you go into their their little room in their house. I have a cousin who does this because does music production sometimes, and he has all these wooden diffusers on his wall. It's so cool to see, because for one, it looks like a piece of art. Like, he always paints them in neat ways or stains the wood, and what it is just a bunch of different oddly shaped pointy pieces of wood stuck on one board. And the sound wave goes out like equally into the room. It radiates out, and when it hits this board, just because it's so jagged, it can break up the noise and dampen all this external stuff. Have you ever seen those before?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. And one of my plans is to have, I don't know if it'll be like the next gym that I have that'll have a good place to do podcasts and music in them. And one thing I would like for the future is to have a recording studio that's everything's professional. I mean, the microphone that I'm using now is like it's supposed to be one of the best ones you can get, that plugs right into the what's it called, USB thing. And one of my plans is to get so like musicians can come. It's going to sound professional.
That'd be awesome.
So I can do it with Audacity, and I have a few of them planned. Just working on the scheduling. One of them is, I don't know if I want to say who yet, but hopefully I can get her on next week. I do like a drummer storyteller thing.
Okay.
Another guy at I call my job. He's been in a bunch of bands. He plays a bunch of different instruments, but he was going to come by, play guitar, sing, tell some stories and stuff. And this other guy that I was talking about, who sent me the message on LinkedIn, it's like, if I could just figure out how to make that sound good, because it'd be cool for people to play. But that was like one of the ideas for me, like changing the name from Fitness and Consciousness to Path Notes, is I wanted to take fitness out of it. Not that I didn't want to talk about fitness anymore.
Right.
But it's like sometimes when I'd have people on, they'd be like, well, I was like, yeah, I'd like to come on. I don't know how I can relate that to fitness though. And I'm like, well, the other word is consciousness, which includes everything.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like the word fitness, just kind of like throwing me off a little bit.
Too small a box.
Yeah. And so I think Path Notes I like the name Path Notes.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah, I stole it from this guy, Glenn Morris. He wrote a book called Path Notes of an American Ninja Master. My first show that I did as Path Notes, I did give him credit right at the beginning of it. But I looked it up several different ways. He doesn't call anything just Path Notes. The book is called Path Notes of the American Ninja Master. I have the book. I have some of his other books. So it's not like Path Notes is his thing. It's just a small part of the title of his book.
Yeah.
And so, but I always liked that. I was like, Path Notes, that's cool.
That's a cool name for a book.
Yeah, and I've had the book for probably at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And but it's always been kind of like in the because I had the name in my mind, like Path Notes of the Skeptical Mystic was something I've used before.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I can take out the word skeptical, because the mystic is going to be like seeking the truth anyway. So you don't need skeptical. And Path Notes of the Mystic. And I was like, well, then am I calling myself a mystic? And I suppose I fit the definition, but I'm not like, oh, here I am, this mystic. I'm a mystic.
Right.
Like that's weird.
You're a pretty grounded guy.
So just like change like Path Notes. Like, that explains it. So like have people on, what path are you on?
Yeah.
And like what?
Yeah, that's good, man. It's unique, but it's simple at the same time. So, fitness and consciousness, that's a mouthful. And I like what you're conveying with it, but like Path Notes is easier to say by like 1,000.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. It's kind of strange to change the name of it after, I think this is episode 134, 135.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of weird to change the names after so many. But I think it works.
Yeah, I mean, the people who subscribe are still subscribed.
Yeah, so the show should be all in this. It may take me a while to change over all the logos.
Gotcha.
So it's still gonna be listed as Fitness and Consciousness in some places. I'm in the process of changing it. And like, what's my logo going to be? And I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll use like the real picture of our owl.
Cool.
I don't know if I want to be in it. We took some pictures yesterday, or maybe I'll use myself in it. But it's like, do I want to be? I don't know if I want to be in the logo or not. But the owl, like, to me, represents who are you, and like, what are you doing? And so that was like the message I got from our owl experience, which was really profound. So maybe I'll use the owl, and then I don't know. I'll just kind of like figure it out.
Starting place, man.
Yeah. So I guess we can start to wrap it up. I know you have some projects that you're working on today, and is there anything you wanted to? How do you follow it? Let's see. Any how do you say it?
Yeah, social media and all that jazz. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. It's Fearless Sloth, so there's no spaces. Or you could check me out if you're in Indianapolis and you're looking for a personal trainer who has this generalist perspective where I can help you build a more resilient body that's prepared for nature. You can check me out on Instagram, send me a message through there. And other than that, it's just really good to be here, man. It's always cool to have these conversations, and I appreciate you doing this and putting Indy on the map in this way. And the way that our little tribe has grown is really cool. I just love the direction it's going. For the longest time, I just felt like I was by myself thinking this way, doing these things. Mm-hmm. But now I know for sure that's not true. And I feel like it's made all of us a little better, Mm-hmm. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, it's really cool to see people turning out to our meetups, and everybody has their own strength, and maybe they're not climbing trees, maybe they're doing capoeira, maybe they're I'm not so good at handstands, so maybe somebody else is like they're doing handstands with you, and I kind of like maybe mess around with a couple, but it's not really my thing. And so people are doing like, everybody just has their own strength, and then some people are just like kind of like walking around with us too. Yeah. So I don't want people to be intimidated by our videos and stuff. Maybe like, oh, it's just as fun. These people going out. There's no teacher. There's no class that's being led. It doesn't cost anything.
Right. Yeah.
All these, like, there's no leader of this thing.
Right.
We just show up. There's usually like somewhat of a core group of us that shows up. It can be different people, some people, but it's like, come out if you're in Indianapolis area. And if you're interested in that program that we're talking about at White Pine, this is kind of like the first time it's been talked about publicly. It's going to be really cool. Probably start in the spring. I'm not sure when we'll start having registrations for that. I'm hoping by the first of the year or something like that. Sure. Send one of us a message to let us know you're interested. We can keep you updated on what's happening. And if you're not in the Indianapolis area, start your own group. Maybe you're not into the tree climbing or rock lifting, but like, what do you like to do out in the woods? Maybe you want to learn more about plants. So like, okay, I want to learn more about plants. I got poison ivy. I don't even know how. I don't know what poison ivy looks like, but I have this book. It shows like poison ivy or whatever. I know what poison ivy looks like. I used to get it real bad when I was a kid. So it's like this like main thing that sticks out to me if it's around. But maybe you just want to learn more about trees. So you don't want to climb the tree. You just want to what kind of tree is that? Is that an oak tree? What kind of oak tree? Pine tree? What kind of pine tree? Maybe there's like whatever it is in your nature, like start a group. And like you're saying, like you felt like by yourself. I've kind of like had that same thing. Like, like not so many people doing what I want to do. And so just like start your group if there isn't one. And
it's as easy as, getting on Facebook or Instagram and creating a free account and then putting some real basic descriptions. And we just get on like, a day or two before and say, hey, this is where we're meeting up. If anybody wants to show up, feel free to do so. And even if they don't come, maybe they comment on it. And I mean, now I've met Caitlin and
Mm-hmm.
JP, and really Ethan. I didn't start hanging out with until we started doing this stuff. It's like so many good friends have been made, and sometimes I'll refer like clients to those people,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just a cool thing to network with people that are into the same stuff as you. It's mutually beneficial for everybody. So like, just have fun with it. Like, we're just as goofy as we are intense. I mean, we're super goofy. We're always doing funny stuff and making jokes and kidding around with each other. So yeah, if you want to check that out, please look up the Indie Strength and Movement page and send us a message, because we don't care who you are or what you can do. You're welcome.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we will catch you later.
Peace, man.
Yeah, it was cool.
Awesome.